Zohran Mamdani's New York: Change, Controversy, and Consequences. Muslims in New York have elected Zohran Mamdani, who strongly promote LGBTQ campaigns. Before we talk about his promises, popularity, and power, there's a question many New Yorkers are quietly asking: is Zohran Mamdani ready for the biggest job in America's biggest city, or did he rise too fast? Supporters call him bold and visionary. Critics call him inexperienced, overly ideological, and risky for a city already under pressure. And somewhere between hope and doubt stands the man himself, Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City. But before judging the controversy, before the applause or the criticism, we need to understand who Zohran Mamdani really is, how he lives, where he comes from, and how his political journey began. Zohran Mamdani, born October 18, 1991, is an American politician who has served as the 112th mayor of New York City since January 1, 2026. Born to prominent parents, academic Mahmoud Mamdani and filmmaker Mira Nair, Zohran Mamdani spent his childhood in Uganda, South Africa, and New York City. His education includes attending Bronx High School of Science and graduating from Bowdoin College with a concentration in Africana Studies. Mamdani began his career as a musician working alongside Ugandan rapper HAB, but eventually moved into the political arena by working on local campaigns and joining the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA. After being elected to the New York State Assembly in 2020, he sponsored hundreds of pieces of legislation and championed causes such as making public transportation free. In 2024, he formally announced his intention to run for mayor of New York City. He won the Democratic primary over former Governor Andrew Cuomo and was sworn into office on January 1, 2026. His rapid ascent and ambitious agenda have made him a poster child for progressive leadership among the youth, attracting both praise and doubt. Mamdani's family settled in Morningside Heights in New York City when he was 7 years old. At this point, he had a privileged childhood, but he quickly became aware of the differences between people's socioeconomic status. Growing up in the hustle and bustle of Manhattan, he was both exposed to systemic inequalities from an early age and the inspiration for his political philosophy, specifically his focus on housing and public service and access to those services. Growing up, Mamdani's mother was a filmmaker, and he often accompanied her on film sets. He developed a deep respect for the importance of creativity in the arts and storytelling through culture, which subsequently had a profound impact on his style of communicating with the public and engaging with the communities in which he lives. Mamdani attended the Bank Street School for Children on Manhattan's Upper West Side. He displayed early leadership and civic engagement by running an independent campaign in a middle school mock election, on a platform of equal rights and anti-war policies. During his time there, Mamdani co-founded the school's first cricket team, participated in soccer leagues, and explored student government, although he was unsuccessful in a bid for student body vice president. These formative experiences reinforced his ability to navigate diverse social and cultural settings and developed early leadership and organizational skills. He regularly contributed to the campus newspaper, the Bowdoin Orient, covering topics spanning politics, culture, and sports, and penned critical commentaries on institutional policies, such as advocating for a boycott of Israel. These experiences illustrate a young man increasingly invested in social justice, global perspectives, and political activism. Beyond academics, Mamdani cultivated a creative identity as a musician. Under the moniker Young Cardamom, he collaborated with Ugandan rapper HAB Abdul Bar Hussein to produce music addressing cultural and social issues. Their work combined languages including Nubian, Luganda, Swahili, and English, blending African, South Asian, and Western influences. Notably, their music tackled topics like corruption, colonial legacies, and multicultural identity, positioning Mamdani as a socially conscious artist. Mamdani's engagement in music was not merely recreational, it functioned as a platform for political and social commentary, demonstrating an early synthesis of creative and civic-minded pursuits. He also contributed to the soundtrack of his mother's film Queen of Katwa and appeared as an extra, further solidifying his involvement in the arts. Mamdani's political trajectory began with grassroots engagement. In 2015, he volunteered for Ali Najmi's city council campaign and was inspired by the involvement of artists like him in political activism. He went on to serve as a campaign manager for candidates such as Kader El-Yateem and Ross Barkan, as well as a field organizer for Tiffany Caban. Joining the New York City chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, in 2017, Mamdani aligned himself with an organization advocating progressive policies on housing, labor, and social justice. These experiences honed his skills in organizing, strategy, and voter engagement, preparing him for his own runs for public office. His work as a housing counselor starting in 2018 further deepened his connection to social issues, particularly the housing crisis in New York City. Assisting lower-income immigrant families facing eviction, Mamdani witnessed systemic inequities firsthand, motivating him to seek public office to enact structural change. This professional background became a cornerstone of his political messaging, particularly his focus on affordability and housing reform. In 2019, Mamdani launched his campaign for New York's 36th State Assembly District, representing Astoria and Long Island City in Queens. Running on a platform that included housing reform, police and prison reform, and public ownership of utilities, he achieved a stunning victory over five-term incumbent Aravella Simotas in the 2020 Democratic primary, a race that took nearly a month to call due to its competitiveness. He faced no Republican opposition in the general election and was re-elected unopposed in 2022 and 2024. During his time in the Assembly, Mamdani actively shaped legislation. He served on 9 committees and task forces, focusing on aging, cities, energy, taxation, and immigrant communities. He sponsored 20 bills, 3 of which became law, and co-sponsored 238 bills, advocating policies such as fare-free buses and public safety reforms. His involvement in hunger strikes with taxi drivers demonstrated his willingness to engage directly with activist causes, signaling an activist-style approach to governance. In October 2024, Mamdani announced his candidacy for mayor of New York City, centering his campaign on affordability, public services, progressive taxation, and social equity. His platform proposed fare-free city buses, universal child care, city-owned grocery stores, rent freezes for rent-stabilized units, additional affordable housing, and a $30 minimum wage by 2030. He also emphasized LGBTQ rights, comprehensive public safety reform, and increased taxes on corporations and high-income earners. Mamdani's political identity is deeply shaped by his socialist principles and activist background. His policies focus on social equity, public ownership, and systemic reform. However, critics question the feasibility of his ambitious proposals, such as the $30 minimum wage, fare-free buses, and city-owned grocery stores, citing potential budgetary and logistical challenges. His rapid rise from activist to mayor raises concerns about his executive experience in navigating NYC's bureaucracy. While Mamdani's progressive agenda has energized young voters and marginalized communities, opponents argue that some policies risk alienating business interests and fiscally conservative constituents. His past involvement in controversial stances, like support for BDS movements and radical DSA positions, has been scrutinized in debates and media coverage. Supporters emphasize his assembly track record, commitment to social justice, and ability to connect with diverse communities. These actions serve as evidence of his leadership potential. Zohran Mamdani's life reflects a trajectory shaped by global perspectives. He has cultivated a multifaceted identity as an artist and activist. His rapid ascent from grassroots volunteer to state assembly member and now mayor demonstrates ambition and commitment to change. While debates over the feasibility of his policies and executive experience continue, Mamdani represents a new generation seeking to redefine urban governance and social equity. His story highlights the intersections of culture, politics, and social advocacy. The story underscores both the promise and scrutiny accompanying youthful, progressive leadership. How does a grassroots activist navigate the elite corridors of power in New York City? Some critics argue that his radical views and unorthodox style could clash with traditional expectations of governance. But to truly understand him, we need to look at the full story of Zohran Mamdani's life and career. Zohran Mamdani was born in New York City and raised in a politically engaged household. His father, Mizan Mamdani, is an academic and former president of a college, while his mother, Mira, was involved in local activism. Growing up in Queens, Zohran was exposed to diverse communities and social issues, shaping his progressive outlook from an early age. He attended top schools and later earned a degree in political science and urban studies, preparing him for a career in public service. Mamdani's political career began in grassroots activism, working closely with communities on housing, education, and immigrant rights. He ran on a platform emphasizing affordable housing, workers' rights, and social justice, eventually winning a seat on the New York City Council. His campaign style often emphasizes direct engagement with constituents and leveraging social media to mobilize younger voters. Known for his down-to-earth and approachable persona, Mamdani often avoids the trappings of elite political lifestyles. He prefers community meetings over gala dinners and has been vocal about prioritizing accessibility and transparency in his office. While some politicians spend heavily on personal branding, Mamdani projects a lifestyle that aligns with his progressive ideals, often highlighting his modest living and focus on social issues. Critics highlight his radical progressive stances, like aggressive rent control and criticism of corporate influence. Some argue his policies, if implemented too quickly, could create economic disruptions. Critics question whether his lack of experience in traditional governance could challenge his ability to navigate city politics. Zohran Mamdani is a young, ambitious politician who brings energy, community focus, and a progressive vision to New York City politics. But like any rising political figure, he faces scrutiny over how his ideals will translate into real-world governance. His life and career so far illustrate a blend of grassroots authenticity, intellectual rigor, and controversy, a combination that continues to captivate supporters and critics alike.